Every once in a while, it takes us a little bit longer to get
Yeah.
going.
Technical difficulties.
Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Mentoring Mondays. Today we have the honor to give a warm welcome to our guest today, Adina Elfant. Before coming to CCSU, Dr. Elfant worked in a variety of roles at 4 other institutions in New York, Washington, D.C., Virginia, and Massachusetts. Over the course of her 32-year career, she's acquired experience in new student programs, residence life, service learning, judicial affairs, career development, and of course, academic advising. She joined CCSU as the Assistant Dean of the School of Business in the fall of 2019 and was there until March of 2021 when she assumed the newly created Director of Undergraduate Advising position. She oversees the 4 school-based advising centers as well as Explore Central and works with a staff of 15 professional advisors. She has her bachelor's from Gettysburg College, her master's from New York University, and her doctorate from George Mason University. She's a first-generation college student, so she knows firsthand the importance of asking questions and utilizing your resources.
Welcome.
Thank
Welcome.
you.
Welcome aboard.
When I hear anybody mention the number of places I've been or the number of years, it always kind of, ugh, I know. Makes me feel a little old. So welcome, everybody. We are going to be talking about academic advising today. It's a topic that I find exciting, and I hope you do as well. And certainly I'm at a different age than you are, but I have learned that if I don't ask a question when it pops into my head, the chances of me remembering the question later on it's a little bit shaky. So let's try to make this as interactive as we can. So if you have questions as I'm going along, please feel free to ask them, type it in the chat so that we can address it as we go. Okay, so academic advising, if you can get us to our PowerPoint. Okay.
No, just a
Slideshow?
slideshow from the currents from the beginning.
Yep.
There we go.
Okay, so as was said, so I am Adina Elfant. I'm the Director of Undergraduate Advising here at CCSU, and some of you may be familiar with Montez Johnson. He's been at the institution for a long time. He's a phenomenal resource, and he is our Associate Director. So both of us are located over in Village di Loreto in 102, and so that is always a place where you can come or you can direct other students if they have any questions. So academic advising at CCSU is divided amongst 5 different centers. Our abbreviation for that is SBAC, which is the School-Based Advising Centers. And so obviously there are 4 of them representing our 4 institutions. So the Advising Center for Class, or the Adina College of Liberal Arts and Social Sciences, it is more formally known, is in Village di Loreto up on the 3rd floor. School of Business is over in Vance Academic, and they're in room 216. School of Education and Professional Studies is over in their new space over in Barnard, which is a lovely location. It still has that new office smell to it even. School of Engineering, Science, and Technology is also in a really lovely new building in the Innovation Hub. As soon as you walk in the doors, 101, it's right there on your left. And then Explore Central is in Village di Loreto 102, which is where undergraduate advising in general is housed, and so that's where you can find Montez and I. So the school-based advising centers is really pretty self-explanatory in that, any of the majors that are housed in those schools are then served through that office. And I just wanted to talk for one moment about Explore Central. How did I get back on here? Oh, there we go. Okay. So Explore Central is the center that's really designed for our students who are not quite sure what they want to major in. I don't know if that applies to anybody in this room or
It does apply to somebody who works with us.
Okay, so so Explore Central works with that population, but they also work with students who might be deciding between 2 majors when those majors are housed in different schools, right? So if somebody is trying to decide between maybe computer science or MIS, we can't really choose whether you sign them an advisor in the School of Business for MIS or over in Engineering, Science, Technology for the computer science, So they're actually housed in Explore Central as kind of neutral territory in a sense, right? And so they can then meet with the advisors there to continue exploring both of those. Folks who might have come into the institution with a declared major might have decided that that doesn't really feel right to them. And sometimes students feel a little bit funny going and talking to their advisor about changing out of that major. And so in that sense, I see some heads nodding. So in that sense, Explore Central too can really serve that need as far as meeting with students. They have in-depth conversations with those students, and there are a number of different tools that they will use to help the students really identify what are your areas of interest, what are your strengths. They can look at all the different majors at the university and really break it down for you. So, if a student comes in and says, I love math, I'm a very logical thinking, they can say, well, the most math-heavy majors are over here. Or the converse of that, if somebody comes in and says, okay, I really as little math as possible, they can say, okay, these are the majors over here. So they can have those kinds of conversations, they have worksheets, and they also use the Focus 2, which is an online resource that you might have heard or seen advertised either through advising or through Career Development Center. So I did want to just speak a little bit more about Explore. So we're getting into the time of the year where you're starting to see advertisements around campus about academic advising and registration coming up. And so along with that, we talk about being registration ready. So the first thing that we ask of students is that you check your record to see if you have any holds. And so if there are any students that you're working with, please emphasize that to them, that they should start the process now of trying to resolve those holds. And those typically are either financial or health holds. And so the number and the website, the email addresses rather, for those offices are right up there. They should just reach out or go into the office and just say, when I look at my record, it has a hold on there. Could you tell me what exactly I need to do in order to get the hold released? Because if there is a hold on there, you could do everything else right. You could meet with your advisor, you could have your schedule, your classes chosen, you've got all your CRN numbers ready to go. But when it comes time to register, you're not going to be able to do it if you still have a hold blocking your record. So make sure that you take care of that. Also, look up to see when your scheduled time is for registration, right? Does everybody know how to do that? You guys on? Okay. So on the registrar's website, you can click on the spring registration, it will break it down. I did write down, so seniors are going to be starting on November 7th, and then we go all the way through where freshmen are going to start on the 16th of November. That, again, is the earliest date that a student can register if you're within that academic classification, but recognize you can register anytime after that, you just can't register anytime before that. So it is important to look so that you know when your registration time is. And on the registrar's page, as I said, it will tell you, you'll plug in your information, how many credits you have completed, and it will tell you not only your date, but your time, because they have it broken down into time blocks, 3-hour time blocks as far as doing the registration. Also, as far as getting ready for this, yes, absolutely.
I'm always confused when
Okay.
I look, seriously, when I look at the transcript to figure out which,
How many credits are
the
completed?
credits completed, because that's not the language that it uses.
Correct. Correct. So if you're looking at, and actually it gets trickier if you look at your degree evaluation, which is usually the place that we really encourage you to go and look. It's confusing because typically there it's counting the credits that you're taking this semester. And for registration, they do not count those. So for that, to go and look at your transcript to see how many credits are completed.
That explains a lot.
Which
Right, yeah, so you look here and it says this,
Right.
and then, right.
So there is a little button that you can toggle on the degree evaluation, and I'll show you that when we get to the degree evaluation, how to see that. But even if you're looking at your transcript, you're looking at credits completed, not credits attempted. Because if you took a class and you withdrew from it, or you took a class and you failed the class, you attempted it, but you did not successfully complete it. So sometimes when you're looking at the transcript, those numbers are going to be different also. So you could have different numbers for completed, for attempted, and then what your degree evaluation says. So it's not like we make it really
I'm
simple.
not bad at this, but
It's confusing.
which is why my department assigns all the elementary ed, social studies, and history majors to me. But it's really confusing.
It is confusing.
Every year I have to sit and figure out.
Yep.
And go.
Take a moment, think about it. Yes. And so as far as, again, getting ready for registration, making sure who is your academic advisor, because those change, right? Faculty retire. Freshmen start out with a professional advisor. Professional advisors in all of the schools onboard all of our new students. So every transfer student, every new student starts out with a professional advisor. And then depending on a student's major, will determine when they move over to having a faculty advisor assigned. So that does change. And as I said, sometimes faculty retire. So you really need to take a moment and look to make sure you know who your advisor is, and then start the process of actually making the appointments that can
And
meet with them.
sometimes also when you go from like the pre-professional
Mhm.
process to be in the professional program.
Yep.
Right, your advisor changes also.
Right. So when you are a pre-major, you are working with a professional advisor, one of the advisors in one of those advising centers. And then when you get to the point of being assigned, and usually there's actually a slide coming up in a few, because there are certain majors where you have to either have a minimum GPA or you have to actually make application to be accepted into the major, right? So we have like a pre-nursing, we have pre-social work, we have pre-management, pre-accounting. So all of those pre-majors are working with a professional advisor, and depending on whether it's a school of business or education professional studies, it's a different process to get accepted into the major. And at that point, that's when you're going to get assigned to a faculty advisor. Okay. So as far as getting ready to meet with your advisor, so advising dates formally start October 24th through November 4th. And frankly, that really applies more to folks who are working with faculty advisors. They have in their contract a 3-week period where they need to make themselves very available to students for advising. For students who are still being advised by the professional advisors, they've sent out their emails already. They've got students coming in already, so they've started those appointments, and they will continue, through the end of the semester because their caseloads are higher. So know that you can always make an appointment if you're working with a professional advisor. You can start doing that already. If you need to take any placement tests, do it before you meet with your advisor. So especially for new students who might have just come in, or maybe have been here a year and still haven't done a placement test, you need to get that done. You cannot register for a writing or a math class without us having either SAT scores on file or taking your placement exam. So that is really important. And if you're not sure how to do that, you can contact your academic advisor. Review your degree evaluation. There is a lot of information on there, and we want to make sure that that you know what you're looking at and what you're looking for as far as getting information on there. If you have taken courses elsewhere, again, probably more so for newer students who maybe took something before starting at CCSU, but it could certainly be for upper class students too who have taken classes. You need to make sure that official transcript was sent to us, and so that if you don't see it listed on your transcript yet, then it didn't happen. And so if you don't see it on your transcript, then you need to request it from the institution where you took the class, and it should be sent right to that regstaff@ccsu.edu email, and they'll take care of getting that posted. Before you meet with your advisor, make sure you look at the course offerings, because you might know from a degree planning sheet that maybe your faculty member gave you what classes you need to take, but there's no guarantee that those classes are going to be offered every single semester. And so it might show up on your degree evaluation that you know that you need to take X, Y, and Z class, but again, it might not be being offered in the spring. So you need to make sure that you are checking there to see what classes are open. And you need to continually go back there so that you also see when things close out, because they will close out, especially for folks who, junior or sophomores and freshmen. Usually the juniors are okay with getting their classes. Sometimes it's not the section that they wanted. But anyway, so you should go into your advisor with a list of classes of things that you would like to take either during the spring or winter term. A lot of students don't realize that you can actually start registering for your winter term classes at the same time that you go and meet with your advisor to register for spring semester. Winter term classes are super intense, right? If anybody has taken a summer class, anybody here taking a summer class? Okay, so you were probably doing that over like a 6 or an 8 week period?
I think it was 6.
Okay.
Actually, I think it was 5.
Okay, so, and it was pretty intense, right?
Yeah.
So imagine doing it in like a 3 week period. So like winter term classes, well, winter term, they are no joke. So most of the assistant deans in the schools, who are the ones that sign off on it, are gonna, want to look at your GPA and make sure that you're strong enough to do that, because we don't want to have you set yourself up for failure. And certainly if you've ever taken a summer class, they're gonna look and say, okay, how did you do taking a class in a 5 or 6 week scenario, and what are your chances of being successful in doing it in that 3 week time period? So, we want to make sure that people are positioned as best they can. Yeah.
I have a good question.
Mhm.
Are winter classes like every day of the week? Would you know that?
Many of them, yeah.
Yeah.
Yep, for many
Because I
hours.
know that these summer ones are like 4 days a week.
But what I find is students often expect the same workload per week as they get during the regular academic year. They don't really understand that it's double or triple,
Mhm.
or like, so 16 weeks in 5 or 15 weeks in 5, that's, every week is 3 times what would normally be the case. And so I get a lot of, well, Dr. Mahoney, I have to work, or my family's planned vacation, and that's all fine, but that doesn't.
Yeah, when I was the assistant dean in the School of Business, freshmen were never approved to take a winter term class. Sophomores, occasionally, they had to be a pretty strong student though. The only time the deans start to get, in my experience, the only time they start to get flexible is if you're talking about a senior who really needs to get something in there in order to make graduation requirements. Because you don't want to take a class and do poorly in it and sabotage your GPA, right? It's not worth it. So you're always trying to balance, and the advisors talk to students all the time about this, balancing the number of credits that you're taking and how you're progressing towards your degree completion, but how you can do that as expeditiously. So, you want to make sure that you still have a good grade point average, right? So if you're thinking about graduate school or internships or, whatever it might be, it doesn't always serve you best to get through as fast as you can if that impacts what your grade point average is. So as I said before, there's a lot of information on your degree evaluation. And so we are going to pop over and look at Kaiser's degree evaluation. So who knew that Kaiser Blue Devil had a degree evaluation? Crazy, huh? So
I think it's crazier that he's got a student ID.
Yeah, well, it makes it really
What's
helpful
his
for us
ID?
doing
No, this is
presentations,
great. This is
right?
great.
So that we don't pull somebody else's up there because then their grades all show. But so anyway, so your ID number is going to be up there, your name. Obviously, Kaiser is a non-degree seeking student, but on your degree evaluations, it would typically have what your degree is, and at that point. Undergraduate, it'll have your first year standing or sophomore standing or junior senior, major, your college, and then over here would also be your advisor. What I really wanted to take a moment to talk about is the what if, because this is, I think, the most awesome feature of the degree evaluation, and I found a lot of students aren't familiar with it. So I do just want to take a second to do this. So what is somebody's major who's right here with me? Okay, so we're going to look at journalism. So we're going to go in here and we're going to select journalism. So that automatically populated it as an undergraduate major and a Bachelor of Arts. And so we're using this for Kaiser because Kaiser was a non-degree student and didn't have any of the extensive information that degree evaluations can provide. But for students who are, so you're a journalism major now, but maybe you were thinking, you know what, maybe I want to do criminal justice. You could do the same thing and put in the criminal justice. And what it will do is recalculate your degree evaluation with the new degree requirements and show you how all the things that you've taken would fit into this new degree. So if students are thinking about changing a major, they can see, is this going to set me back? Because that's often the first question that we get when students come in to talk about the possibility of changing a major.
Let me say the answer to that question, yes, period. Yes.
I would say it depends.
Well, that's true, but, okay, but 9 times out of 10,
It
The
depends
answer
how
is
far
yes.
along you are in the major.
well,
And
that's true.
it
Yes.
really depends. You know, if you're a junior or a senior, probably. If you're a freshman or sophomore, probably not. Because if you think of it like in the big picture, you know, we'll use round numbers here because it's easy for me with math. So if you're talking about 120 credits for graduation, you think, in my mind, very generally, a third for gen ed, a third for a major, a third for electives. Depending on the majors,
minor
those
too, yeah.
change around. If a minor is required, like arts and sciences, you need a minor. School of business, you do not. So lots of factors go in there, but like generally, I kind of start there with your piece of the pie. And so, you know, you have a group of credits that are for electives. So, you know, worst case scenario, if you've taken a number of classes towards a
Oh, I
particular
see.
major, you're going to be kind of using up your elective pot with those classes if you change course for a different major, right?
So,
Because gen ed would still most likely satisfy. So it really depends at what stage you're at as far as when you start considering that change of major. So it doesn't have to
you know
set you
why I
back.
think it's because the elementary education majors, the BSEDs,
So
the engineering schools.
there are
have-
certain majors that are incredibly
Very-
structured, right? And so even if you are, you know, not able to take a certain math class at a certain stage, that could potentially push a student back a year, right? If they come in as a pre-nursing or an engineering student and they need to start with like a math 099, that will potentially push them back at least 1 year.
Yeah, my major isn't like that. I can take
Right.
communication classes with me.
Right.
Right,
So
I
it
think
really, there are a few majors where it's very structured, but for the majority, changing a major is not a life or death, you know,
Right.
decision making. And again, that's where, you know, you want to have those conversations with your advisor. So on here, and like here's the where it says in progress classes. So when you're trying to figure out how many credits you have completed, you can unclick this box and it will only show you what you have completed. So if you're looking for that magic number to figure out your registration, you can do it from the degree evaluation, just unclick the box. All right?
Right, and the reason that I think that people that I see so many people who get off track if they try to change is because history, 2/3 of history students are BSED
Because they're
majors.
education, yeah,
Right,
they're
they're in
structured.
education.
Yep.
It's very structured, and if you get off the, if you get
Out
off,
of sequence.
if you get out of
Yep.
sequence, it's really a problem.
Yep.
Nursing too.
So Kaiser has journalism major in here now. We're not going to worry about a concentration or a minor, but you know, we do know that since this is in the College of Liberal Arts and Social Sciences, that Kaiser would need to select a minor at some point, but we're not going to worry about that right now. So then we're going to click on the process button. And so this is when the degree evaluation would recalculate the classes that you've already taken and plug them into this new major. So, and take it with a grain of salt, because Kaiser hasn't taken anything and it's already showing him 3% on his way. So it's not an exact science. So it starts out, your degree evaluation starts out with the general of this is what you need for your bachelor's, in this case, Bachelor of Arts, it might be a Bachelor's of Science. So 120 credits required, residency, GPA, general education, okay, your major, it's saying you have to have a minor, your degree application for graduation, okay? And there's a hyperlink right there for it. So where we go down here, and so for you, those of you who have already taken classes or have things in progress, you'll see where you are, where those are satisfying requirements. And so initially, I think it's like a half filled in circle if you're on your way to doing it. So for social sciences is a good example where you need a total of 9 credits in here, history, and then another 6 down here. So this circle over here is only going to be halfway filled in until you get all 9 of these credits done. All right, and so you're looking at both the top where it gives you the summary, but then also down here in the specific boxes, because we have had students who have come in and said, I did all of my general education, I've completed my major, why is it telling me I'm not ready for graduation? And why would that be? What are they missing?
Student assessment.
No, they've got their major done, they've got a minor done if it's required, they've got all their general education.
They didn't do the graduation application.
No,
Alright.
well, hopefully they did.
That's
That might be where they found out.
So,
But look at what was the first thing up here at the top. 120 credits. So it's not just getting your gen ed completed and getting your major completed and a minor is required. You always have to keep coming back to, I need the 120 credits. Okay? And that too can get a little bit confusing with some scenarios that we're going to talk about in a second. And so it does all your general education, it does for your major. If we had selected a minor, that would also have been listed here. So here's the little half circle when it's completed with what is in progress. And then it will turn to the little green check mark once it is completed.
So the rest of the classes that are missing are not the major or the minor, but the
Or gen ed.
electives.
electives.
Yep. So elective are just the classes that you're taking because you're interested in studying that topic, or that you've used in, when you might have been pursuing a different major.
So it could
So
be anything.
they can be anything.
electives can be anything.
As long as you've met all those others, right? So you have to have residency, you have to have a certain number of upper divisions. So that's why it's so important to be familiar with your degree evaluation and know how to navigate it. Because with that what if function, before we processed it, there was also an opportunity where you could enter the classes that you're planning to register for, right? So you can see, okay, if I take this, is that going to satisfy the rest of that requirement? So the what if function is an awesome function, and I'm on a personal crusade to make sure everybody knows how to use it and take advantage of it.
It's great.
Fabulous.
It's great.
Yep. So a couple things to keep in mind. Any class can be repeated. The most recent grade is what will be calculated in your GPA for up to the first 17 credits. Okay, so I'm going to say that again. So for 17 credits, you can repeat a class, and the most recent grade is what's going to be used in your GPA. So if you got a D in a course, all right, and you needed to get at least a C or a C minus because it's, that's what you needed to have in that class to go to the next class, you can repeat the class. But if you fail it the second time around, now it's the F that's getting included in your GPA, not the D. Okay, so it's not the better grade, it's the most recent grade. So you just need to kind of keep that in mind. You can only do that grade replacement for 17 credits. After that, you can still repeat classes, but the grades get averaged. Okay, the credits will appear twice. Okay, the grades are being averaged, so you're getting credit for both those classes, but you can't apply the same credits towards graduation. So again, makes it confusing when you're trying to figure out exactly where you're at in that process. But hopefully that doesn't really apply to very many students at all. Yeah.
So if you did take it twice, would one of those classes fall under like a fall through class?
Yeah.
Will that count? Will that credit show up like under the little?
Are you doing it as like one of your first 17 credits? The grade
Yeah.
replacement?
Yeah. So then it would count as like a fall through course?
So it would not, so the new grade and the new credits replace the old.
Okay.
So the credits are not counted twice, and the grade's not, the new grade is one that's counted. Okay?
Thank you.
And then, we talked about this a little bit as far as certain majors, those pre-majors that I mentioned. So some of those have a GPA requirement and some of them have an application process that you have to actually complete to be admitted into the professional program. So again, all of these things are yet more reason why it's so important for you to talk with your academic advisor. Okay, so advisors will go through your degree evaluation. They will help you identify remaining requirements, make course suggestions. They can, strategize with you as far as if you need to raise your GPA and how to best utilize that grade, the repeating. You have to be really careful with those repeating courses though, because if you receive federal financial aid, that needs to be considered, because you cannot use federal financial aid to pay for a class that you have already completed. Okay, you cannot use federal financial aid for a class that you have already completed. So that first example I gave, right, where you got a D in a class, you completed that class. You can't use federal financial aid to repeat the class, even though you have to repeat the class for your whatever requirement. So the way to kind of get around that is to make sure that you're taking at least 12 credits of non-repeated coursework, right? Because then you're a full-time student, you pay the same price, whether you're taking 12 credits or I think it's up to 18 credits is full-time. So if you're registered for 15 credits and one of those is a class that's getting repeated, you're okay. All right, so again, it's like one of those little like asterisks or something next to. So again, advisors will certainly point that out. They'll recommend if you're going to repeat a class, go and talk to somebody in the financial aid office, because you also have to make academic progress to maintain your federal financial aid. So there's a lot of stuff that goes into it.
And in my humble opinion, if you got a D or an F in something, then to take 18 credits is a really bad idea.
Yeah, we would never have you do
It
that.
suggests that, no, I didn't
But the
suggest, but
15.
sometimes students want to,
Yes, they do.
right, because.
And that's when it goes back to the pros and cons of moving and trying to get to that degree completion as quickly as you can, but you need to make sure your GPA is where you want your GPA to be. All right, and so, as I said, advisors will refer you over to the financial aid office. If you're, if you mention, I'm not going to register for classes now because I don't want the bill to come in, they're going to talk to you about that. They're going to refer you over to the bursar's office. Because what happens if you meet with your advisor, you choose your classes, and then you don't register? What happens?
I know the answer to that question. You don't get
What
the
happens?
courses.
What happens?
You don't get the classes that you want, and then you try to register in the summer. Your faculty advisor is in Brazil because they're not on contract and they have other things they have to do, and the class that you needed to get into is closed.
Right. Classes will close out. And so, if you are a junior, right, most of your classes are going to be open when you go to register. If you meet with your advisor and select your classes and your schedule, you're like, oh, this is my perfect schedule. It's going to work great. I can do my part-time job here, but you don't register. Then by the time you go to register, you could end up with a totally different schedule because things are going to be closed. You're going to have to choose different sections. You're going to be on wait lists, like all sorts of stuff happens. So really try to get registered as soon as you can. And then, we work with the rest of it. Okay. So bills do not go out until December 15th. So whether you register on, let's see, what year are you folks? Senior?
Senior. So.
Okay, we're going with the sophomore. So you could start registering on November 14th. That's when sophomores start. I don't know where you fall within that grouping. So, you could register on the 14th and you're still not going to have a bill generated until December 15th. So register as soon as you can, get into those classes.
Does that change through like what year you're in?
No.
Bills
are-
bills are on the 15th.
but the time you register does, which is nice. 'cause
Right.
You get to have
Right.
more time.
Right, so for a senior who's gonna register, you're in the early group, you're November 7th. So you're not gonna get a bill even generated until, December. So again, register as soon as you can and take advantage of that, that registration date.
I did have a question. I'm not sure if you know the answer to this, but so I'm in the graduate program here,
Mhm.
and so I was originally taking 3 classes, paid my bill for the fall. Then I added a 4th class while the semester already started.
Mhm.
So I never got charged for that 4th class for this semester, but I'm wondering if that would carry over for the spring.
You should check and see if you had a hold on your record. Yeah,
Okay.
if there was, because it might,
Yeah, it never updated my bill, which was weird.
I would go and check.
Okay.
Because again, you don't want to get to the point where you're ready to
Yeah, so that's a
register,
good point.
and
I
then
should-
all of a sudden you're like,
Yeah, I
oh,
should look
psych,
into
you
that.
really can't.
Okay.
Yeah,
Thank you.
definitely go and get that checked out. So registration is going to be starting up. Finding your registration day and time. You folks said you all know how to do that on the registrar's website. So we should be good there. Check for closed courses, right? Because when you meet with your advisor, if it's more than even a couple of days before when you register, check and make sure your classes are still open. When you're with your advisor is going to suggest that you have alternate classes listed, right? So that you will be prepared and have all the CRM numbers written down. So again, you're not juggling between 5 different open tabs on your computer. You've got all that stuff ready to go. Not going to help our seniors, but for our sophomore and anybody else who's going to watch this later on, we are getting new scheduling software, which is going to be really cool. We're hoping to pilot it in January, and we'll be rolling it out for the spring. And it's going to make this, it's going to be a game changer.
Like it'll be
How is
better?
that for like a teaser of what
That
is
would
to
be-
come?
Like it'll be better?
It's going to
That's
be
what you're saying?
fabulous. It's
Wow.
going to be fabulous.
Because.
Yep.
I know that, right, you can go in off of the main university page, but once you're in Banner, right, for me, I always want to see what the enrollment numbers are, which means I have to go in through
Mhm.
the faculty pipeline.
Yeah,
and
no, for
clicking back and forth.
Yeah,
and,
no, for
it's
students
just-
registering, it's gonna be awesome. They're gonna be registering themselves. And you're gonna list the classes that you want, and it's gonna give you all the possible schedules
Wow.
with the classes you've listed. If you know that you wanna take a nap every day from 2 to 3, you can block out that time, so it won't offer you any schedules with anything in that time slot, or if you have work or whatever it might be, it's gonna be
Wow.
awesome.
Will
I'm
it
so
tell
excited.
them, for some of the complicated majors, will it tell them if they're taking the wrong course?
Yeah, it's gonna interface with Banner.
Wow.
Because that's
Yep.
what we're pretty worried about.
Well, that one thing I noticed was that I can't. You know how you have the option to do like on campus or off campus, like online. Well,
Yeah.
So if I want to pick accounting and see all the online classes that
Mhm.
are for accounting, I wasn't able to do that.
You can do that now.
You can do that now.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yep, I can show you that in a second.
Can you do like all business classes?
I don't think
In
we
the
do
new
all
update?
the
usually
same.
do that, remember?
In the new update, would you be able to do that? Because I think you're right. You're right. I could do accounting, but if I want to do like all business classes, would I be able to do that?
I don't think you can do them all at the same time. You'd have to like go into each one.
Okay.
Okay, so having our alternate classes. So this was getting back to more than just your major gen ed. Make sure you're checking your degree evaluation, so you have all 120 credits and whatever else you might be required to have. I think first and foremost, what we really want to see from students is that they're active participants in this process, right? Your advisor is going to give you advice. They're going to tell you where you need to go for other things that are beyond their purview. They're a phenomenal resource. But we're not going to do it all for you. You need to be in the driver's seat and being engaged in this process. So there is the website for, or the email address rather, for undergraduate advising, as well as our main phone number. And again, you can just come stop by. We're in D102. We're with Explore, and as I said, that's where Montez and I are. Any other questions that we haven't hit yet? You know what? Let's just so you can go to your Teams in case anybody typed anything in. This one? That one. Okay. Anything?
So,
Nope. Okay.
they probably have, I have some based on, so how did we best deal with fall through classes? Because one of the things that we've found is that Degree Works doesn't always put things in the right place.
Correct.
Yeah, I've had to make exceptions in some places, and it's kind of frustrating.
I spend,
took this
we
class
spend a
where
lot of,
it's
in fact, we've started in the history department having students go to Teams, fill out the old paper version, and then comparing it to Degree Works. In part because some of the things that the curriculum committee wanted us to do, they go in as 295s and one night write topics in, and it's not clear where they fall. And so the chair now has figured out a way to deal with that.
I was going to
but-
say, that really comes back to the parameters that the department places on the course so that the registrar's office enters it and can tell Banner where it should go.
Right.
So, for example, with transfer credits, when a transcript comes in from another institution, it gets reviewed by admissions and says, yes, this course is going to transfer as this course, if it's in the banks, so to speak. If it's not, they'll send that to the department and they make a decision. And they have to check off, is it just for this student or is it for everybody that comes in after?
Right.
And if they don't check in for everybody after, then every time it comes in, it has to go through that process again. So when course numbers get changed or new courses get added or things like that, there's a disconnect between the information getting from the department to the registrar's office so they can code it correctly. It can get fixed.
Right.
Either deans can, fix
Oh, no.
it on the degree
Yeah, we fix it.
or.
We fix it, but
Right.
so what we discovered was that when you sent in the list of courses that are going to be offered.
Yep.
You have to attach this version of History 295, for example, counts for Europe, or counts for US, or counts for whatever.
Right.
So that the registrar's office gets it,
Mhm.
because
Yep.
otherwise
Yeah,
it doesn't
I
go into
mean,
the right place.
The information coming out is only as good as the information that
Right.
goes in. So from the student pipeline, when you're looking for courses, you go into courses and programs, and then we're looking at course offerings. It's going to automatically default to the next term. So if you're looking for spring classes, you're all set. If you wanted to look for winter, you'd actually have to drop this down. So we're going to stay with spring. We're going to hit submit. And we're going to look at accounting as an example. I always suggest that you search with both so that you can see, even if there's a closed section, because then you can go and see whether that closed section is offering a wait list. And you can be placed on it. If you don't look at both, you won't even know that that section exists if it's already closed. Schedule type, I think this is where, no, not there. Where is it?
I think it's further down.
Yeah, so down here, this is actually really helpful also, that you can say you need something for your arts and humanities requirement, study area 1. You can search only for, oh, you know what, I had clicked off, let me go back, I clicked off accounting. I got distracted there. If that came off or not. So you can go down, I think it was here that I was, looking at study area 1. Is that gonna work now? No, I think it's still
It doesn't let
showing.
you search without clicking a major,
Yeah. Try it now.
or not
It's
major, a
lost.
subject.
There you go. So if you're looking for a class specific to a study or a skill area, you can select that from the menu and only be shown courses that are going to satisfy that requirement. All right. And the last thing is, if you have a question that you really need to talk to a department chairperson for, if you go to the pipeline and look under academics, you've got departments, and it's going to tell you who the department chairperson is. It will hyperlink you right to their email address and also gives you a phone number. And that is academic advising in, I know, it's like this major information dump on all of you.
Oh, that was
So
very
it's a
helpful.
lot of information. You have the PowerPoint. We'll make sure that you have the
Yes,
PowerPoint.
yeah.
And certainly, give us a call. Montez and I are available, or the advisors in the different areas. This doesn't have my bookmarks in here, so I'm just gonna go real quick. I need to go to the eye doctor, so I'm kind of squinting from back here. It's not good.
Academic advising isn't there.
Why are we not there? I think it's under revising, maybe.
There it is, it's under advising.
Advising.
There we go. So if you're on here and looking at the directory, this breaks it down by school. It tells you who the advisor is, what majors they're working with. So if you have questions, you can go
Can you
there.
scroll back up there for a second?
Mhm.
Oh, okay, there it is.
Yeah, we don't put phone numbers on here because frankly, advisors are pretty swamped meeting with students. And so better for a student to send an email to the advisor they're trying to reach, because when you have a couple of minutes in between appointments, you're checking your
Yeah,
email
we're
and
sorry
you're
about that
trying,
last winter.
and you're trying to respond to students. And so really that's the best way to reach an advisor is to, just send them an email so they can get back to you. You'll get a response much quicker than if you call them, end up leaving a voicemail for them, because they generally don't check voicemails until they have a really good block of time that's free. And especially these days during the advising period, those are hard to come by. All right. So any other questions? All right. Awesome.
So, well, I have another one. So
Okay.
this year, I gather, or this next advising period, students are not going to need pins to register.
That's what I've been told.
So,
For real?
so what will be the incentive to get students to talk to an advisor?
Well, I think that, from the professional advisor standpoint, we're doing all the same outreach that we've always done as far as encouraging students to come in for all those reasons that were up on the slide, right? So if you have questions about requirements or sequencing or need other resources, come in and talk to us. But, just as before when pins were required, we couldn't make them come in. And so, I think conscientious students are going to make that appointment. And I don't think every student needs to meet with an advisor. There are some folks that have met with an advisor for, 2, 3, 4 semesters already. They know what they need to do. They need to do it. And hopefully people are smart enough, because I always say it takes a smart person to ask questions, and so hopefully they're smart enough to recognize when they need help and willing to ask for it. And then we're there to help. And I think faculty advisors probably feel the same way.
Yeah,
There to help.
I mean, one of the things that we run into that I'm not sure how we address them is that we don't always know what the backstory is to students' schedules, right? And say I'm teaching on Tuesday and Thursday almost all day, but the only day that the student is available is kind of Tuesday and Thursday.
Mhm.
So there's often a disconnect. These are more advanced students, right? But we make a lot of adjustments. So, because and as I said, I pretty much only ever see the really complicated majors. Because history gets a lot of those. So that's kind of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll have to see how it all goes.
Well, thank you so much for coming. This is
Thank
great.
you.
So thank you.
So sorry we had some technical
Oh, no.
challenges at the outset, but
It's okay.
you got the information
Mhm.
very quickly. So, if you guys have questions, feel free or send students over to us if they need assistance.
Definitely.
All right.
Thank you.
Enjoy
No, that's
the rest
great.
of your day.
So